Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Indie Filmmaker. I've got Jonathan Straiton, aka Mongoose. You probably can't tell. AKA Wes Reid, AKA Mongoose. That is actually the same guy from past episodes. What are you doing, making love to that gun?
Yeah, a mongoose.
You should talk as Mongoose. I should just interview Mongoose this whole episode. I say, hey Mongoose, so tell us about your backstory with your Nana.
She's a whore.
What? That's not what I wrote. She may have actually been a whore.
I don't remember what the backstory
She was definitely a wild girl. You know, I didn't really write what happened to Mongoose's parents and stuff like that, but if we ever do the feature version of Gangnam Style, which Gangnam Style is my segment on the Hi-8 movie, which we're going to be promoting here today, I do have a bit of, she does have a bit of a racy history that I'll write into the story that I've come up with for this villain character that would show up in the script. But yeah, I mean, you know, I don't think it was more defined in the short to you or even the audiences, but to you specifically as she was just like your grandmother who raised you when your parents were gone. So you know, she's like your mom. So.
Yeah, that'd be cool if at the end she's like, Mongoose, I have something to tell you. I am your mother. And he's like, what? But you're like 80. Or she could say something. I'm your mom and your Nana.
Maybe funnier. She's like, I'm your father. And you're like, what? I got a sex change. Well, almost. It didn't take. And she pulls her pants down. She has like half a penis. It's like cut right down the middle.
That'd be awesome.
Maybe Mongoose and Nana should just start making out, and then after like Mongoose, oh what the fuck, and you're like what? Doesn't everybody do that with their Nana?
You know, there should definitely be a scene where they make out. It's one of those scenes where the lights go out and he thinks he's going to meet with one of these girls and she's going to meet with an older guy or something, and they turn the lights on. Ugh. But then Mongoose has like a hard on for like 4 hours. It won't go away. Oh shit!
We should stop. Well, give me another minute.
Let's just turn off the lights and pretend that we're not each other.
Yeah, I don't know if Anne would do that role. Maybe. We'll see. There's a lot of stuff I've written out for that. I got on my cell phone. I'm always jotting down notes. I've read them to you sometimes on the phone. Like lines, character ideas, little scenes, moments, you know, and I'm still coming up with them. So I'd love to sit down and write that script. I just don't know when I'll squeeze it in, and because it's a project I can't get to for a while, just because like we were talking on your audio podcast earlier, it's just it's going to need a budget and some serious shooting time to be able to do it right. You know, I'm just not at that place right now so I won't give it a priority in terms of writing. If I had tons of free time, I was like sitting around, you know, I think I'll type tonight. But you know, there's like 20 other scripts in my head and show ideas for the YouTube channel and stuff that I got to work on first. So, and I want to do one of those YouTube series, you know, that we talked about, like TV series, but on YouTube. So, you still there? You locked up, Johnny? There you are.
There you are.
How much did you miss?
You just said the last thing I heard you were talking about the YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you locked up. You're like this for like a minute. Yeah, one of the TV series. I just want to. I've written out a first draft for one, and I want to get to that and maybe shoot a little bit over the winter. I'd still wouldn't mind going and doing that one script. Remember though, I won't give it away because I don't want to give away the title since it's a good title. But the one I was going to shoot at the end of last summer here in my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd still like to explore the possibility of doing that in the spring as well. You know, so you know, there's just a lot. There's a lot on the table. Holidays have been throwing me off, you know, because it's hard to plan a lot of stuff around with the holidays kind of like dead center everything. And I'm gonna have Nathan. Usually, you know, I'd have a normal time where I'm like every other day and every other weekend and stuff. But I got my week with him over. I took my last week of the year with him. We get like 2 weeks each, me and the ex, and so I hadn't taken the second one, so I took it over Christmas break. So pretty much Christmas Day through New Year's Day, I have him solid. So it's tougher to shoot with him, but some of the stuff I can kind of figure him into, you know. So maybe I can shoot some of these shorts or some scripted shorts I wanted to do for the YouTube channel, and then of course there's the regular stuff like the podcasts and the you locked up again. The podcast. I'll just keep talking, and the I said you locked up again, but I was just gonna keep talking.
Oh yeah, you were being real choppy. Let me see.
You lock up with these great faces too. Well, that's all right.
You're going in and out. You look like Max Headroom. You're just like.
Well, yours is always choppy, but I just take that as part of being the podcast. So it's not like you're playing back real time. You're probably playing back. Wow, I wish I could talk tonight. Like 15 frames per second, or 12 frames per second.
Yeah.
Or something. So, but that's all right. As long as I got the audio, I run images over the shit. So, but anyways, getting back to Hi-8, out on VHS and DVD. If listen to my last podcast, and this for the viewers, I already talked about that with Tim, but our goal here today is just kind of, I guess, talk about some of the stuff that happened on our set. So, I mean, what were your impressions of the shoot, just as kind of an overall thought about, the script, how the shooting came off, the characters, just.
The script I wasn't sure about.
I remember that. That's right.
Yeah, I remember. I knew you knew what you wanted, what you were gonna do, and I liked the script, but I wasn't sure because on most of your scripts, I guess, because most of the time you're usually writing features, you're a lot more descriptive. You write tons of description and backstory, and this, maybe didn't have so much of that where. It just there was a lot left up to when we got on set, and when I talked to you, you're like, this is how he's gonna be and sound. You had a lot of the vision of the script in your head, and then on set, it was awesome. It was definitely one of the funnest sets been on a long time because it was laid back and we had like all our friends there and we were making fun of them. Which is always good.
It was like all our friends in the last couple movies, so that was cool.
Yeah, and then I remember we went to like the Goodwill or whatever it is up from your place and got just some boots for the wardrobe. Mm-hmm. And they were like super big on me and super uncomfortable and standing on the concrete. That was my only complaint is like my feet were like killing me that one day.
Well, you started off, I had those old army boots for you, which I think were left over from like Miss Cannibal Holocaust. And they were killing your feet the first night. So yeah, we went to the rescue mission and you found these black winter boots that were like size 14 or something. You just needed them because your feet were like throbbing and stuff. And you don't really see them too well. I think one of the wide shots when you run back up to the old people, you can see them. But no one caught the difference, in the boots, between the scene 1 and scene 2. So you remind me of something else, which I forget. But one of the other things, though, that I think worked well with that set is all the actors, when we were shooting, kind of had a separate place to go. Remember, they'd go up in the stairwell and they had their sleeping bags because we were shooting like overnight. And so they'd go up onto the 3rd floor. I think we were on like the 2nd level, or we were on the 3rd, and they were going up to the 4th. And there was like a landing. And they set up like little beds there, and they'd sit up there and take naps and talk and stuff, and they wouldn't disrupt. So, what we were doing on set, which sometimes you run into on low budget productions, you got people talking, you got to tell them to shut up, quiet on the set, or they're goofing around, distracting the actors and stuff. It was great. I could call down the actors I need, do my shots, send them back, focus on other actors. So it made it just real. Made it real casual. And you remember just being like, all right, Brett, go get Ann. We need Ann for this shot. And Ann come down and shoot a few shots. All right. And when you go back up, send down Jay, and she'd send down Jay or Tom or whatever. So that worked well. So I think the only mishap I remember on set was when I parked the first day to unload the equipment at that community center.
Yeah.
And I parked super close to this fire hydrant just to squeeze in. And as I was backing out, I totally forgot it was there. and I was using my mom's minivan, so I caught like the fender on it, and it got stuck. I was so worried I was gonna pull off it, and it was gonna like bust loose, and water was gonna go flying up in the air, and it was gonna be like one of those like almost like in a cartoon strip or something. And I was like stuck on it. We had to all like kind of like push it to get it off a little bit. I think I had inched the van forward and got out, and I did like $200 or $300 worth of damage to the van. So outside of that, I think we had some early noise, with there was some baseball games going on in the park next to it, but once night hit, that was gone, and we were good to go. Yeah. We got some blood on the ceiling. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Seriously, probably one of the funnest sets I've been on, because it was just you also scheduled it out, well, where we could take our time with it a little bit more and have fun and stuff. It was fun. I remember standing around making fun of Brett because the inside joke with him is he likes cat anuses or just anuses.
Don't even ask.
In general. And we were doing all these different games. We were saying that he plays, like we said, anal birds and stuff like that.
Yeah, we had a lot of good nights like that. One of the favorite things we do after set is we like to sit around and talk when we should be going to sleep or doing other stuff. And remember, we'd go sit on my back porch and we'd just rip on Brett for like hours before going to sleep. As the sun would come up, I'd get home early enough because Nathan always gets dropped off like 6:20 every day. At least when his mom has him and stuff. So we had to be back, say no later than 6. But usually we were wrapping up, I think, around 5. I never had to really push it to daylight. And so we'd go out there and sit and be waiting for Nathan. And then we would start just ripping on Brett. And then 2 hours later, when we should have already gone to bed, we would, I see you cut out again, but I kept talking. Yeah. We'd just keep ripping on him and then we'd finally crash and wake up sometime in the afternoon to shoot again that night. So. But that was fun. I mean, it's always good to do that sort of stuff. Brett's always a good sport. We've talked about him on other podcasts. So I'd always try to rip on somebody else a little bit too, like Trey, so he wasn't getting all of it. Or Michael. Yeah. That's where Michael's legendary film trivia expertise kicked into full effect. It was actually Trey. We were driving in the minivan, and I hear we're driving back home, I think it was, and I hear Trey do that Star Trek quote that he said Malcolm McDowell, waived his pay on the movie to be able to do it, and I always forget the quote was, but I was listening to that, and I remember I was like, that doesn't sound right at all. And we started ripping, and we're like, who said that? And someone said Michael. Michael said it, and it wasn't. It was Trey. So Michael got ripped on that forever. Still does. I ripped on him on my podcast about it. So.
Yeah, that's so funny.
There was a lot of good moments in there. It was such a microcosm of a film set because it was so fast. And small. Well, it wasn't that small of a group, but it just seemed very condensed and quick, and everyone was in and out of town so quick and stuff. But there was so many funny moments.
Yeah, with all those guys, we just had a blast with them.
Yeah, and all the older people who were playing, all the elderly folks, and some of them I had worked with before, like Tom, and it was great to be on set with Tom again and stuff. But they were all like right on their game. And they were having a lot of fun, and they all knew each other because they all worked together in community theater together. So they had kind of like their own group up in the stairwell, and we had our own group downstairs, and worked out really well.
Yeah. I had a good time.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my faves. It was funny when you were having, Brett, when he bites in the back of the, I guess that was Jay's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny because he was, he had him do it like 100 times.
He had to bite right into his hair. And I was like, just act like you're sucking his brains out. But we ended up coming up with him like spitting out. He had like blood in his mouth. So as he was acting like he was sucking in, he was like blowing out the guts and stuff. I was gonna say that was another thing that helped the set go really well was the effects went really well, but that was like I think the only effect that didn't quite go right because when you shot him it was supposed to be the sucking the brain went fine and stuff, but when I had the side view where he shot him and he had I wanted the tubing to shoot blood out Brett's head and out Jay's back of his head at the same time, or back of Brett's head and out the front of Jay's head at the same time, and he couldn't get both tubing to shoot at the same time, so we ended up just going with the front shot. But worked fine. I mean, I had even scripted it so the effects could be cheesy, but also I could shoot him in a way where I would know right where he needed to put the tubing. Like when Michael gets shot in the head and he turns his head sideways, I basically said just put the tubing on the side so when it turns it'll squirt out, so I don't have to see a bullet hit because we couldn't do any digital effects and I didn't want to get into squibs, which can be very time consuming, and so even that worked well, so.
Yeah, I forgot. I guess that was why, because the shooting. I forgot. I thought Brett just wasn't doing something right or something.
He did the brain sucking right. I mean, he really latched onto the head, and I was worried about that one. I was like, this isn't going to look right. I'm going to have to add a lot of sound effects or something. And he did it the first time, and it was just gross as shit, and it just worked. And it was just funny because, he had to suck on the back of a man's head.
he liked it.
He was surprisingly good at sucking.
On men's heads, just not the ones that are on their necks.
Head sucking expert Brett Janensky. We should have him do tutorials on how he did it. I remember we had to throw the blood on Kathy, and it just wasn't hitting right. I think you were, or maybe it was Colby was throwing the blood, and it just didn't look good. I was like, just hit her full force with it, one shot, so I get it. And sure enough, it hit it and went in her eyes, but she stayed right in character and did. And then as soon as we cut, she was like, it's in my eyes. You see her kind of blink in the video.
Yours just freezing a little bit too.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Brett was. What was I gonna say about Brett? Oh yeah, because he sucks the mayonnaise and food off his fingers because he doesn't use utensils to eat any of his food.
He wraps his mouth around it, his lips come off his face, and and then they reattach when he eats stuff.
I'm just like, did you just grow up like eating the table scraps under the table? Your mom would slide them to you.
He was raised by anteaters. Yeah, he did that surprisingly well, and also it was just funny because he was the perfect character to throw into that role. When I didn't have an actor for that role, originally supposed to be an elderly, another elderly resident, of the building, and so we threw Brett into that role and rewrote it a little bit so he was special, but with Brett, and he's got that, the eye condition with the shaking eyes and stuff. He just the face worked perfect because he'll like look off and stuff, just like randomly in everyday life, So you can't direct that necessarily. So he had a few lines for him, and he played it perfect. He's always like jumped into acting spots, and like She Kills. I had him as a gang member several times, and he always did a good job. He like attacks it full force, so I've always been real happy with the stuff I've gotten from him. Remember when She Kills, he had to kiss Andrew?
Oh, yeah.
And they weren't really quite doing it. I was like, guys, you got to sell it one time. You got to get right in there, smash your cheeks up together, and they did. It's going to get funny.
Yeah, that's so funny. And then, because we added the line, who invited the meatball?
Yeah.
When we added that, which was like an inside joke because I think you said he had hair like a meatball or something like that.
You can hear me on one of the takes and She Kills when his head is right. It's when all the gang members are dead and Sadie's walking into the door, and I'm like, I got the camera down there, and I was like, hey, there's a meatball in my shot because his head is right into it. But that's not where the joke started. It started some point way before. But there's all sorts of in-jokes, like in everything I do, and everything you do, too. Like the whole title, Gangnam Style, is the in-joke on you. It's like you're the only person that gets that, until I explain it. So.
Yeah, trying to come up with names for 2 plates. Yeah.
Trying to think what else was fun on this. I feel we're covering. I forget what we covered on your podcast and mine and stuff, but I mean, just went smooth. It was a ton of fun. I couldn't have asked for a better shoot for 4-day shoot. I mean, it was fairly pricey and paying for all the effects and stuff. Oh, that's one thing we could talk about. Remember the last day when Colby was going for his check? I gave him the check and he was like stunned, and he's like, you didn't pay me enough. He's like, supposed to be $100 a day, and I'm like, no, it's $50 a day, same as She Kills. And he's like, no, you said $100 a day, and then he called on you, and he was like, you told me to charge him $100 a day, and I was like, no, you paid. I got the checks, I can show you. I paid you $50 a day for She Kills, and we agreed that was the same fee plus all your expenses, And you were getting ticked at him. You're like, dude, why would I tell you to charge Ron double what I was paying you for Night of Something Strange? And remember, he was almost like crying and stuff. He's like, no, it was $100 a day, and I'll prove it to you. And he was so ticked. I felt so bad
because it wasn't my call. I wasn't paying, so why would I tell him to charge? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't in negotiating any of the money for the film, and so
you were just personally consulted. You're like, why would I tell you to charge my best friend double what I was paying you? And I'm like, dude, no, I didn't. So I ended up giving, I think, like an extra $50, and he went home, and he drove home like wicked fast. He got that flat tire, and then he had to pay for a new tire.
It was karma.
I don't know if it was karma, because he hadn't really done anything wrong, but I felt bad the way it had kind of ended, But he got home, and he texted me like right away, and he's like, dude, I'm sorry, you're all right. Like, he immediately apologized, so that was cool, and we were good, And I haven't talked to him a lot since, because I think he's pretty much given up the special effects, not for any particular reason, at least that we could discuss here. But I did talk to him briefly, and I wrote him a letter of recommendation for some job that he was trying to get. That it wasn't really effects related. I forget what it was. I think he does like ballroom design or something now. I don't know. He does it. He used to always post like all his effects he was developing. I was hoping he was going to continue with it, but he seems to have ditched that. So that was another interesting moment, fun moment on set.
Yeah, that was. Oh, yeah, I was ticked, man. I was like, what the?
Well, I meant to talk to. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just.
I meant to talk too. There's stuff I forget about bringing up, but I mean, I don't think we ever talked publicly. Maybe we have on our other podcast about the inspiration for Mongoose. I mean, obviously it was a Snake Plissken thing, but the character we were doing back when we were when I was helping you write some of Nos there and stuff, and I would always do the impression of Dirk, and that in your script is like that. It'd be like, hey, it's Dirk Massel, I'm a badass, and once you went off and you did your future drafts of the script and you changed it up. You decided not to go with that angle. So that character always stuck in my head, and I always do. Still this day, I still walk around the house and talk like Dirk Massel, but now it's Mongoose. I talk like Mongoose to the dog, to Nathan, to my girlfriend sometimes, She doesn't get it. She's looking at me like, what are you doing? But when I started working on the script for Gangnam Style and got to that third draft where basically it took the course that it did, I was like, I'm bringing that character back for it, and that's what I told you. I was like, just play it like that, which is supposed to be like this sort of spoof of Snake Plissken. I know you mentioned before about someone said you're doing like a Christian Bale impersonation, but it was really supposed to be more like an extreme Snake Plissken. I mean, Mongoose obviously, and R.J. McCready, from The Thing, so.
Yeah, and that's what we, like you said, you would joke as Dirk's character, you would act him out, because my original inspiration was Kevin Dillon in the remake of The Blob. His kind of character is Dirk, and then you added the whole like voice to him and stuff, and then we started just doing that back and forth. And then I think you were talking about trying to even do it on She Kills, but then you went a different direction with that. Which I'm glad,
you didn't play the character that you were supposed to play.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Dirk Massel and She Kills is the same character name for both movies. And once you didn't play, and Trey came in, gave him basic instructions, tweaked things here and there, but let him take his own angle on the character, and he took it. There's a little bit of it there still, but he took it kind of in a different direction. So yeah, the character hadn't really gotten its what do you call it? its day in court, so it hadn't really gotten a chance to really be explored. So, and it was fun because it was originally written for you, and She Kills, you didn't get to do it, so you got a chance to play it in Hi-8. And it was funny when you're done shooting that, you're like, I love this character. You would tell me all the time, like text, like, I just want to play Mongoose again. I can't wait to do the feature.
Dude, I was like in character because sometimes every movie I've done, when I get into character, I stay that character for like a month or so after the shoot. Even Big Fish in Middlesex, when I was playing like the thug, I acted that way. I had my ears pierced for that movie, and then I kept them, the earrings in. I kept that look and with the shaved head, and sometimes it's weird when I get into those characters. I kind of stay with them, and I still do.
Did you do that with
when
Clay?
I wake up? No, I didn't do that with Clay. That was probably the only one, but definitely with Bree, I'll come down in the morning. And be like, well, look what the cat dragged in.
I know. That's why I have so many lines for Mongoose for the feature. Because during the day, especially, I'll come down and be making lunch, and it's just me and the bulldog. And I'll be talking to the bulldog, like, in the Mongoose voice all the time. I'll be like, what the fuck do you want? I mean, oh, look who just woke up and just wants to eat her food and go back to sleep. The little bitch. And I mean, every so often, I'll come up with, like, a really good line, and I'll write it down. And I mean, oh, that'd be perfect. Like, I forget some of them off the top of my head, but...
Yeah, well, I'll do it to Bria. Like, let's go upstairs for the greatest night of your life. But then she's like, I'm not going upstairs if you keep doing that. So I was like, okay.
So revert to your squeaky voice. I'm sorry. Yeah. It is a fun character. I could see, why an actor might enjoy playing that role, because you can just really be hammy and over the top and stuff. And I have fun just goofing around and playing them. I think the only other time I'd consider doing something with them is we were joking about all the NOS potential sequels, and you would we talked about me being like Dirk's father, in the sequel, and I would have played it like that, But outside of that, the character could, not much was happening with him, and I was like, okay, well, let me bring him back. This would be the perfect time for him, and it worked. It all came together nicely, so.
Yeah, and you know what I think I liked about this character, more so than any other character? He reminded me of a character that I would try and be when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, try and mimic. Like, he reminded me... Probably because
you grew up with 80s action flicks, Like Rambo and Commander.
Yeah, he reminded me of, like, Rambo, Han Solo, Indiana Jones.
You did definitely channel Han Solo, that's for sure, too.
Yeah.
Like with your poses.
James. Yeah, all my poses, I definitely was trying. I was, kind of channeling Han Solo on that, but and then also, of course, Kurt Russell. But not only in Escape from New York, but I also liked his character in Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah. I think you mentioned that before, set, and I was like, yeah, definitely. That the thing is kind of like this combination. It's more than Snake Plissken. It's really just like Kurt Russell, who's like one of my favorite actors and action stars. But I mean, the character is really just sort of this, 80s action movie star displaced, with the scenario. Not just, maybe the zombie apocalypse wouldn't be a big deal to him, but he has to save all these old people who are ornery and don't move very quick, and it's just frustrating for him. So I like the part when you see him by the car, because and it's the wide shot, and they're walking, and they've only made it like halfway through after it seems like a half hour, and you're like, get behind me.
Yeah, that was
all
good.
the
it was a lot
poses over the actor. That was such a fun set, though. I mean, we were laughing all the time on that.
I know.
Need more
my
sets
favorite
like
is
that.
when I... What's that?
I said we need more sets like that for sure. I mean, they've all been really fun. So I would say that. Makes me want to get back on set talking about it, though.
Yeah, that one was fun because it wasn't so much like work. You know what I mean? It was just like, because we were limited to what we could do anyway with the camera. So, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it wasn't like setting up the shots, setting up all these lights, and trying to get everything perfect and stuff. Not that you didn't try and do that, but basic, we were just limited with the tools.
It was all storyboarded out, so I knew exactly what I needed. So it was an easy shoot. We just had to tweak some stuff. Like, remember when Michael, he'd get hit from behind by the zombie, which was Steve in there, and he was supposed to kind of drop the gun, and he couldn't, like, easily drop the gun. It kept catching on his finger stuff. So he came up with the scenario where he, like, fell and dropped it. And he, I think, actually suggested it, but I wasn't sure about it. I thought it was going to look cheesy, like he was suddenly on the ground. And then Brett was suggesting it later. Remember, we gave Brett all the credit for, like, let's do that. Who came up with that idea? It was Brett, wasn't it? And Brett was, like, so happy. He's like, hey, I made a suggestion you guys took. We always reject his stuff. He'll make like suggestions like, Brett. But he comes up with, like, some super dumb suggestions sometimes. What was some of the ones on Nos there? What?
No, remember he said something about, like, we were filming the car scene. He's like, so you're just doing a shot of them pulling up in the car.
And Nos,
like, yeah. And he's like, well, dude, because I think we were worried because one of the actors didn't show up or they were late. And he was like, dude, then we don't need the actors. Anyone can get in the car. I was like, Brett, that's not the only scene we're filming, you fool.
I know, he said that to me, I think, on the side. And I was like, whoa, hey, Jonathan, Brett says we don't need the actors for this scene. Why didn't we think of that? And then you're like, Brett, it's not the only shot we're doing all night. Of course, this is the only shot you did all that night. But I
think it was the only one I wound up doing.
He would make the dumbest suggestions, though, of how to fix something we're having a problem. So it wasn't really his idea, but it actually worked because Michael got hit, and I just had him kind of drop down. I cut to the low shot where he's pretty much down and dropped the gun and let it slip out of his hands. And
Michael was determined to do it. He kept saying, guys, I can do it, just let me. And he kept doing it wrong.
I remember he'd do the thing, I think he's done it more one side, where he'd be like, well, go ahead and show me, Ron, how you want to do it. And usually I can do it. I mean, just do it like this, and I couldn't do it either. It wouldn't, because once your fingers around it, it didn't look real. So I was like, all right, he's got me on that one. I guess I have to listen to all the idiot suggestions. Go ahead, everyone. I don't like that when I'm on set. Like, I know I don't want a moment to look like I don't know what's going on and stuff like that. So, but I have tried the last couple of shoots, even like Empire State of Dead, to be more open to outside suggestions. Like in Empire State of Dead, Joel and Eli both had military background. So if there was something I wasn't sure about, I said, "What do you guys think?" And I let Joel be kind of, because he was the sergeant of the group. I let him, once I gave him the base instructions, I said to Joel, I said, you're the sergeant, so you tweak it from there. If something they're not doing right, there's something, a place they should be, how they should be walking, you tell them to do it. They listen to you. You're like second in command, So, that way it just helps, the final product look that much more authentic, I guess.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it was good. What was I gonna say? Shit, it was about. I can't remember.
Was it something to do with Brett?
Oh no! It was ideas. It's a lot of times it's because people come up with dumb ideas. I mean, even when I'm on set, and my mom's there. She'll suggest something so dumb, Just you get behind if you start listening to all the ideas. You have to go in and stick with the original, because sometimes if you go with an idea later, you're editing. Oh, yeah, that changes like a major plot point or something,
Yeah. No, I hear you. And it's not even so much that the ideas are stupid. I mean, a lot of them are stupid, honestly, but because people will throw out ideas where you're like, oh my God, that's so dumb, and that's been done a billion times before or something. But it's more that I find a lot of times when people make suggestions, they don't understand my script until they've actually seen it all shot and on the screen. So they haven't read the whole script, or even if they have, they don't understand it. They haven't really sat there and put the thought into it that I have. So when they're making a suggestion, it completely goes against what's in the story or where the story is supposed to go. So a lot of times I can't take those suggestions. Not that I'm not open to them, but they don't fit something about the movie. Like with She Kills, if it was a 70s exploitation homage, and and I put homages in from different eras, but if they're going with something that didn't fit that era and is way off, I'd be like, I don't like that idea. I'm not going to do it. So, but yeah, I usually find it's just because being it's low budget, you don't have other people on set who've studied the script like you to break it down, to do the set design or whatever. And so if they've read it, they've only read it once. Some of the actors will only read their parts. They've told me. I only read my scenes. I don't know what happened to the rest of the movie. Isn't Michael, I think, only read his scenes? But that's because he doesn't want to spoil the rest of the movie. So that's what he says.
Yeah. And he does it while he's driving. I remember he was driving up.
Didn't he put it on tape so he could listen to it? Or did you tell him to do that?
What's it? No, he had. I looked and he had like 40 pages of the script in his driver's seat, and they were all over the place, and it was highlighted. And I was like, "What are you reading this? Why is it in the passenger seat?" "Oh, I'm just looking over it." I'm like, "Why, you're driving for 8 hours? You're gonna read? It'd be a danger to other people on the road, you idiot."
Oh, that's scary. Well, we're up to about 35 minutes now. I guess we should wrap this up. So, but well, thanks for coming on and talking a little bit about Hi-8. I don't know if we talked about the stuff people want to hear, but we talked about the stuff we want to hear. So I guess that's what's important.
Yeah.
So. But I guess that's it. So this is Ron Bonk signing off.
And this is Jonathan Straiton.
This is Mongoose signing off.
Mongoose.
Go fuck
Peace.
yourselves. Peace. Peace. If you enjoyed this show, please leave us a like below. Your likes are deeply appreciated. Also, check out past and future episodes of Indie Filmmaker, and don't forget to follow the Sub Rosa Network here on YouTube and at www.facebook.com/SubRosaNetwork. Peace out.